Shivaya, good morning, everybody.
Om Namah Shivaya.
Om Namah Shivaya.
Om Sada Shiva Samarambha Shankaracharya Madhyama
Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande
Guru
Guru
Parampara
Parampara.
Om Sahana Bhavatu Sakano Bhavatu
Sahana Bhunatu
Saviriyam
Saviryam
Karavavai
Karavavai
Yasvinavadhitavastu Bhavishavahai Shanti
Om
Shanti Shanti Om Tat Sat Om Namah Shivaya.
Om Tatsat Om Namah Shivaya.
Om Namah Shivaya.
So we had completed the first chapter, Prathama Khanda, first section we had completed, Khandogya Upanishad. And today we will take up the second section, Dvitiya Khanda. So the previous Khanda dealt with Udgita Upasana, Omkara Upasana. Here also, this section also deals with Udgita Upasana. But here there is a difference in that the Omkara, the Udgita, is strengthened by the invocation of Prana Shakti. Prana is invoked on the Udgita. That is the Omkara is the Alambanam, the Pratika. And on that Pratika, on the Alambanam, we are invoking Prana. Right? So this is called Prana Pratika Rupena Udgita Upasana. So the question here comes, when I am taking Omkara, Udgita is the Omkara only, but the Omkara of. I request people not to keep their mics open if they are there. Please keep your mics closed, otherwise all the disturbance comes into the recording also. Okay, so I was saying in Pratika Upasana, in this particular Upasana, where the Pratikam is there, where Omkara is the Pratikam, Udgitam is the Pratikam, and Prana is being invoked. The question comes up, which is the object of the Upasana? Is it Omkara or is it Prana? So, because it is a Pratika Upasana, you meditate on the Pratika, right? The Alambanam, the symbol. Now, which is the symbol here? It is Udgita. So, in this Pratika, Prana Pratika Upasana also, Udgita Upasana also, you are meditating on Udgita only. But with the difference that Prana has been invoked on Udgita. Therefore, that Udgita has been enhanced or charged or powered up. We can say the recharge has been done on the Omkara with Prana Shakti. And therefore, in Sanskrit, in some of the texts, you will find this referred to as Prana Drishtya Udgita Upasana. For example, to give a similar example, when you go to a Shiva temple, the Abhishekam is done to the lingam, right? The stone. But that Shiva lingam is the pratikam. And when we invoke the Lord Shiva on that stone, before the invocation, it is simply stone. When we invoke Lord Shiva on that stone, then we call it, or we rename that stone as Shiva lingam. Why? Because Lord has been invoked. Similarly, on the Udgitaha, the Omkaraha, Prana is invoked. Now, why is it that Prana is invoked? Because Shastra says that among all the Indriyas, Pranendriya alone is Shuddham, is pure. So, whenever we talk about the character of a person, let us say there's a person of good character and a person of indifferent character. When we say this person is good and this person is bad, we are referring to the Indriyas, right? the Jnanendriyas and the Karmendriyas. So if the Jnanendriyas are constantly focused on noble things, then that person is a noble person, Arya. But if the Jnanendriyas are focused on evil things, then that person is Ashuddha. So a Shuddha person is defined in terms of the activity of the Jnanendriyas. Similarly, can a Shuddha person be decided on the activity of the Karmendriyas? Yes, because the Karmendriya activity is beneficial to all, then we say the person is Shuddha. But if the Karmendriya activity is harmful to people, then we say the person is Ashuddha. We can also talk about the person being Shuddha or Anshuddha in terms of the activity of the Antakaranam. So the Antakaranam having Shuddha Vritti, the person is Shuddha. Antakaranam having Ashuddha Vritti, the person is Ashuddha. Am I making sense? Does it appear to be a logical way of analyzing a person?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Now, why is it that the Jnanendriya can have both, noble and evil activity? The Karmendriya can have Shuddha and Ashuddha activity, and the Antakarana can have Shuddha activity. What is the reason?
Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, with all the three gunas having the play.
Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, the three gunas. Very good. Why? Because these are Indriyas, they are Anatma, and therefore they are born from three gunas, and the three gunas will be there. Now, what about prana? When a person is evil, the prana is necessary for him to be alive and to do his activities. When a person is a saint, the prana is still necessary for him to be alive and do his activities. It is not because of the prana that the Jnanendriyas are Shuddham Ashuddham, that the Karmendriyas are Shuddham Ashuddham, and the Antakaranam Vritti is Shuddham Ashuddham. Prana has nothing to do with it. Prana just provides the life force. And therefore, a person is not Shuddham or Ashuddham because he is alive, because he has got prana. He is Shuddham or Ashuddham because of the actions of the Indriyas of the Antakaranam. And therefore, Shastram says, therefore, while these three sets of Indriyas, Karmendriyas, Jnanendriyas, and the Antakaranam, while they can have Shuddham and Ashuddham in them because of the Sattvajas Tamas, Prana is Shuddha because prana doesn't get affected or does not affect the activity of the person. And therefore, prana is considered Shuddha. And that is why prana is being invoked on the Udgita. Okay. Now, in this section, we are talking about five vibhutis, five glories of prana. The first two glories is that number one is that prana is Shuddha. It is pure, unaffected by the good or bad. Right? That we can see. If you are alive only, you can be good and bad. You are not, you know, alive because prana is good or bad. You are not a bad person because prana is bad. You are not a good person because prana is good. You are a good or bad person depending upon the indriyas and the antakara. So the first glory is prana shuddha, not affected by this. And the second glory which we will talk about in this will be sarva, sarvam. It's a supporter. It's a supporter of all. This Sarva Bharaha. This prana is also the supporter of all organs and all karanas. And to establish that prana has these two glories, a story is given in this section. And that story is from mantra 1 to mantra 7. This 7 mantras, they give you a story. So we will first read the mantras, and then as we have already decided, I will not individually give you the word meanings, but I will, in running prose, I will tell you the story. So please open out your texts. Mantra number 1 of the first chapter, second khanda. So 1 to 1. 1 to 1 to 1 to 7. We will read them all together. In a sense, all the mantras will be read in one sequence. I will first read and you will repeat. So first mantra. Devasuraha vai yatra sanyetire.
Devasura
यत्र संयेतिरे
Ubhaye prajapatya tad deva.
उभये प्रजापत्या तद्देवा
Udgitam ajrahu.
उद्गीतमानः
Anena enan abhibhavishyama iti. Teha nasikyam pranam. Udgitam upasan chakriretam. Hasura papmana. Vividuhi tasmat teno bhayam. Jigrati surabhi chaturgandhi. Chapapmana yesha viddaha. Ataha vacham udgitam upasan chakrire. Udgitam upasan chakrire. Tam hasura papmana. Viduhu tasmat tayo bhayam vadati satyam. Kanrutam cha papmana yesha vidha. Ataha chakshurudgitam upasan chakrire. Tadhasurav papmana. Vidhu tasmat teno bhayam pashyati. Darshaniyam cha adarsaniyam cha. Apmana etat vidma. Ataha shrotram udgitam upasan chakrire. Tadhasura papmana. Viduhu tasmat teno bhayam shrunoti. Shravaniyam cha ashravaniyam cha. Papmana etat vidham. अतः मन उद्गीतम् उपासां चक्रिरे
अतः
मन
उपासनाचक्रे
उद्गीते
पाप्मना विदुः
तथासुरः
पाप्मना विदुः
तस्मात्तेनो भयं संकल्पते
तस्मात्तेनो
तस्मात्तेनो
भयं
भयं
तेनो भयं
संकल्प्यते
संकल्पते
संकल्पनीयं च संकल्पनीयं च
कल्पनीयं च
संकल्पनीयं
संकल्पनीयं च
च
पाप्मना एतद्विद्धम्
पाप्मना एतद्विद्धम्
अथ एवायं मुख्यप्राणः
अतः
अयं
प्राणः
मुख्यप्राणः
गीतम् उपासां चक्रिरे
समुद्गीतम्
उपासां
उपासना
चक्रे
तं भासुरा ऋत्वा
तं
भासुरारित्वा
विध्वंसु यथाश्मानम् आखणं ऋत्वा
विध्वंसूर्य आत्मानं
आत्मानं
कृत्वा
कृत्वा
विध्वंसेतैवम्
सैतैवं
So if you see, you can see how it progresses. So in the first mantra, second mantra they say Asika. In the third mantra they say Vacham. Fourth mantra Chakshuku. Fifth mantra Shrotram. Sixth mantra Manaha. Seventh mantra Mukhya Pranaha. Okay. So without going through all the details of the words, the simple story is that there was a war between Devas and Asuras. Okay, now these two words do not really mean the Devas or the gods and the demons. But Shankara says Devas and Asuras are the good and bad tendencies in humans. So Shuddha Indriya Vritti, pure thoughts are Devaha. Ashuddha Indriya Vritti are Asuraha. Okay. Now again, when you look at the word Vritti, you should remember that the primary meaning of Vritti is what?
thoughts.
thoughts. Correct.
Anybody else?
Tendency.
No. The meaning of vritti in Sanskrit is function. Okay. And why do you call thoughts as vritti? Because the function of the mind is thought. And therefore, in relation to the mind, when we say vritti, though we are referring to thoughts, you are actually saying the functioning of the mind, the function of the mind, which is, of course, thoughts. In that indirect way, vritti refers to thoughts. Literally, vritti means functions. Anyway, that's only sort of a sidebar. The second question is, what is the logic for saying that sattvika vritti is to be called deva? So Shankara says these vrittis, these thoughts arise because which thoughts? Sattvika vrittis, the noble form, the noble way of living, which is taught by Shastram, and therefore you have Sattvika vrittis, and therefore they are called devas. Where else have you seen this division?
Bhagavad Gita.
Where?
Devi Sampati and Asuri Sampati.
Daivi Sampati, Asuri Sampati. Right. So they're the same thing. Okay. So this is the reason why Sattvika vrittis are referred to as devas. What about asuras? So there is a definition which Shankara quotes. Asushu ramante iti asuraha. Asu is the sense of sense. Asushu ramante means indulging in sense pleasures. In other words, activities governed by raga dvesha alone. These are called asurik vrittis. So asusu ramante iti asuraha. That is the definition of asura. And remember that both these tendencies are there in every human being. So both the tendencies are there in a single jiva. So you can think of it as both tendencies are there. Both the tendencies, you can call them as offsprings or children. So every jiva has two children. One is Deva and one is Asura, which is why in the Puranas you will find that Devas and Asuras are both children of whom?
Aditi.
Aditi, Prajapati. Okay, whichever way. Both are the children of one parent. I mean, one set of parents, right? So here also same thing, which means that you have both. And now we know that in our life, I mean, at least as people who are struggling to be on the spiritual path, these two devas and asuras, the good vrittis and the bad vrittis, there is a constant fight. From the moment you get up, you have a fight between your what you should do and what you want to do. Right or wrong? And therefore the mantra says, Devasura Vayatra Sanyetire. Sanyetire means battle. The Deva Asuras are in constant battle, right? Which means that your good thoughts and your bad thoughts are constantly fed. Should I have coffee first or should I do my Parayanam first? It's something which all of us face. Get up in the morning, should I go to the prayer room or should I just simply go and have some coffee? All this is part of this. And now the story goes that the Devas wanted to win the battle. And therefore they decided to do Udgita Upasana. So, in the Udgita, they first invoked the Adhisthana Devata of each Indriya. Where have you heard that each Indriya has a presiding deity?
Yes.
Right? So you have to remember all this. And therefore, that presiding deity is called the Adhisthana Devata. So in Udgita, on Udgita is the Omkara in Samaveda. So on that Udgita, they invoked first the Adhisthana Devata of the sense organs. Right? Why did they invoke this the Devata? Because the evil tendencies also belong to the same sense organs. The asuras also are there in the same sense organs. So if you invoke the Devata on that sense organ, they wanted to overcome these tendencies. Right? Now, as the Devatas invoke the Adhisthana Devata, the Asuras come and attack the Devas. Which means what? Your thoughts driven by Raga Dvesha come and attack the thoughts which are driven by your intellect. Right? So as the Upasana is being done, the Asuras come and attack the Devas. And since they attack, Asuras are powerful, the Indriya gets polluted by the Asuric tendency, the Asuric behavior. And in this mantra, if you read the mantra with the words, you will find that in each mantra, one sense organ is discussed. And therefore, each sense organ gets polluted. For example, how do I know that my eyes are polluted? What is the polluted, not in the sense of having cataract, okay? How do I know that my eyes are not Shraddham? What is the proof?
The way I see, uh,
Can you expand?
I mean, any,
When I see what I
any,
should not be seeing or ignore sometimes what I'm seeing.
Yeah. So the eyes see Amangala Vastus and Mangala Vastu also. And therefore, the idea here is that the eyes see Mangala Vastus because of Daivika tendency, and the eyes see Amangala Vastu because of Asura tendency. And therefore, you can see the mantras. Pasyati Darshaniyam cha Adarsaniyam. The eyes, they see what should be seen, Darshaniyam, adarsaniyam, what should not be seen. Similarly, shrunoti, shravaniyam, cha ashravaniyam. The ears hear what they should hear, as well as what they should not hear. These are the Gyanendriyas. Then look at Vadati Satyam Cha Anritam Cha. Speak what should be spoken, and Anritam Sa. Vadati Satyam, they speak the truth. And Vadati Anritam Cha, they also speak the untruth. So this is a generalization for Karmendriyas. In short, all the 10 Indriyas are polluted by asuric tendencies, which is why they see and hear what should not be heard. Okay. Or what the mind, it says sankalpate, thinks of, sankalpaniyam cha sankalpaniyam. Mind thinks of what should be thought of, yes, definitely, but also thinks of what should be not thought of. Asankalpaniyam sankalpate. It thinks of what should not be thought of also. Unhealthy thoughts it thinks. And therefore the mantra says, because of the influence of the asuric tendencies, the upasana failed on each of the organs. Whichever organ they invoked the devata, the upasana did not give the fruit because the organs got polluted by the asuric tendencies. Then what did the devas do? This is the last mantra, mantra number 7. They did prana upasana, mukhya pranaha. They invoked the prana devata. And here there is a difference. As they were invoking, as usual, the asuras came to attack the prana. But what happened? The asuras got destroyed by the prana because prana could not be polluted. Prana continued to be Shuddham. And here Shruti gives an example. It says, Yatha Ashmanam Akhanam. So it is like when the asuras came to attack the prana, it was like using a bunch or a lump of mud to destroy a stone. The stone is prana, the lump of mud is asuras. Therefore, the asuric tendencies, what happens when a lump of mud hits the stone? Nothing happens to the stone. The lump of mud just disintegrates. Right? So, in that manner, the asuras got destroyed. Therefore, the conclusion is what? That in the prana, which is the reason why all of us are alive, the life principle, there is no division in the sense of good and evil. The life principle remains the same in a murderer as well as in the saint. The murderer also breathes. The rishi also breathes. The murderer also digests. The rishi also digests. All the 5 pranas if you take, prana, apana, samana, everything, each of these pranas, you will find that the function is not dependent upon the indriyas, karmendriyas, or jnanendriyas, or antakara. The function is independent. And therefore, whether it's a criminal or a saint, prana is not polluted. It is shuddha. But the functions of the karmendriyas, jnanendriyas, and antakaranam in the murderer and the saint are different. This is a story we just told this 7 mantras. Any questions? Okay. Now we look at the next 3 mantras, which is actually a prana stuti, glorification of prana, and gives the prana upasana phala, the consequences of prana upasana it gives. So we will read from mantra number 8 to mantra number 9 first. यथा अश्मना यथा अश्मना माक्षमृत्वा
यथा
विध्वंसत् एवं ऐव स विद्वम् सतेय एवं विधि पापं कामयते यश्चैनम् अभिधासति स एषः अश्माखणः नैवैतेन सुरभिः न दुर्गन्धि विजानाति अपहत पाप्मा ह्येष तेन यदश्नाति यत्पिबति तेनेतरान् प्राणान्वति एतमु एवान्ततो अवित्तवोति एतमु एवान्ततो अवित्तवोति कामति व्याददाति एव अन्तत इति So the first glory is apahata papma. Apahata means taken away. Papma, apahata papma. Prana is no papam at all. Therefore it is Shuddham. This is the first vibhuti, the first glory. And because this prana is Shuddham, it is very powerful. And therefore prana alone sustains all the other indriyas, all the sense organs. All sense organs function only because of prana. How do you say it is prana which makes the sense organs function? Because without prana, or for example, take apana. What is the function of apana? You have to think not in yogic terms, okay? In Vedantic terms. Which is the direction in which apana moves?
Exhalation. Downward.
Yes. Adho gacchati apana. Remember that. Adho gacchati apana. This idea that prana goes downwards, apana goes upwards is yogic. We are not looking at that. We are looking at the Vedantic portion. Adho gacchati apanaha. Urdhvam gacchati prana. Remember that always. So apana, since it goes down, what is the prana which because of which you can eat?
Apana.
The food is going down, right?
Huh.
So the apana is that which makes the food go down. And therefore, without apana, you can neither eat nor drink. Apana also causes peristalsis. What is peristalsis?
The movement of the intestine that pushes the food.
The movement of the intestine that pushes it where? Downwards. That's why apana is said to be the cause of peristalsis also. Okay. What is the prana which causes the food to digest?
Samana.
Samana. What is the prana which causes the digested nutrition to go around the body?
Jnana.
Dhyana.
Right? And again it is apana which throws the waste out of the body. So it is prana, the 5 different forms of prana, because of which all sense organs function. And if prana is overactive, you will find that you have an upset stomach. And therefore, Shruti here says, Yadashnasi yat pibati Tena taran pranan avati. Avati means to, so you have to break that word up. Avati iti. Therefore, yat vasnati yat pibati, tena taran pranan avati. Because of prana, the eating and drink that it is allowing, all the sense organs are avati. Avati means protected. Okay, and till the time that the body is alive, the jiva cannot not breathe. He cannot avoid breathing. And therefore it is prana alone which sustains the whole body. So he says avivatva. Right? So that when you break that up over there, it becomes avivitva and avati. So avivitva means when the breathing is no longer possible. When the breathing is no longer possible, when is that? Vyadadati. Vyadadati is the mouth is open. You are struggling for breath. What happens at that point of time? Antata eva. Antata iti. That means it is the end of the jiva. So we have to supply with kramati. When the breathing is no longer possible, when prana is no longer functioning, with an open mouth and struggling for breath, the jiva leaves the physical body at death. Utkramati, that's what is meant by eva antata iti, at the end of the physical life. Therefore, what is the idea being conveyed? Prana is the sustainer of all the indriyas as well as the body itself. What is the phalam now of meditation on Udgita, which is charged by prana? So here in the eighth mantra, the Upanishad says that person will be invulnerable to attack by any asuric forces. That's what is said in the eighth mantra. Now we will read mantra number 10, 14. Okay. So mantra number 10. Tam hankira udgitam upasanchakra.
Tam
Tangira Udgita
Etamu evangirasam manyante.
Etam
Manyate.
Anganam yadrasaha. Tena tamha brahaspati udgitam upasanchakra.
Tena tagum brahspati udgitam upasasachakra.
Etamu eva brahaspatim manyante.
Etam eva brihaspati
Brahaspatyante
manyate.
Vagdi brahati tasya esha patihi.
Vagdi tasya esha
Tasya
patihi.
Esha Patihi
Tena tam hayasya udgitam upasanchakra.
Tena tamhayasya udgitapasasachakra.
Etamu eva yasyam manyanta.
Etamu eva yasyam manyanta.
Asyad yaddayate.
Asyadyate.
Tena tam habako dalbhyo vidanchakar chakara.
Tena tagitah bhako dalbhyo vidara.
Sahai naimishiyanam udgata babhuva.
Sahanaimishiyanam udgata babhuva.
Sahai smai bhaya
Sahasmaibhyah
kamanam kamanagayati.
kamanagayati.
Agata havai kamanam bhavati.
Agatahai kamanam bhavati.
Etad evan vidanaksharam udgitam upasta.
देवं विद्वानस्तमुत्थितमुपास्ता
इत्यध्यायतम् अध्यात्मम्.
इत्यध्यात्मम्.
Okay. So another type of upasana is being prescribed in these 5 mantras. The first one, where prana was invoked, was in the last mantra. Here also, it is prana which is being invoked, or omkara. But in the earlier mantras, what were the gunas of prana?
Pure
And
and sustainer of all indriyas.
Shuddha and Sarvam Bharta. Bharta is sustainer of all. Right? So that was the attributes or the gunas which are invoked. And here prana is invoked, but with 3 different gunas. Right? So the 3 gunas of prana are discussed. And they are given names. Angirasaha, Rahaspatihi, Ayasyaha. Now you might wonder why. Why are these called attributes or gunas? So prana has got Angirasaha as a guna because the upasana was practiced. This particular upasana was practiced by Angirasa Rishi. Right? And therefore, Angirasaha here means Anganam Rasaha. What is Anganam Rasaha? Should be easy to understand. What is Angam?
Organs.
Body part.
Limb, actually. Organs are Indriyas. Okay.
Parts.
So, parts, limbs. So, Anganam Rasaha, the essence of every organ. What is the very source which sustains every organ? Prana Shakti. Prana Shakti is the essence, the life of every organ. And no organ can function in the absence of Prana Shakti. That is why if prana is gone, and even if the organs are intact, not damaged at all, you will find they cannot function because organs, the what you call limbs, the limbs are in the physical body, while prana is in subtle body. So Angirasaha is the first guna, which is invoked on Udgita. Next guna is Brahaspati. This is also a guna. So Brahaspati Rishi meditated on prana. Therefore, it is considered as the glory of prana. And Brahaspati literally means what? Brahati means what? Brahati means speaks. And Brahaspati, therefore, is the Lord of speech. When prana becomes weak, you will find that the person is not able to speak. So when a person is dying, as prana is leaving, you will find that he struggles to speak. Speaking power begins to weaken. So that is the second guna. First guna is Angirasaha. Second guna is Brahaspati. Both are named on rishis. Then the third guna is Ayasyaha. So there is a rishi not very well known called Ayasya Rishi. He also meditated on prana. And Ayasya literally means Asyat Ayate. Ayate means goes out. And Asyat. Asya is the mouth. And of course, you have to add the nostril also. But nostril also is not mentioned. So whenever prana leaves the body, I mean, even not permanently also, but when you're exhaling, there are 2 exits of prana. What are they? Mouth and nostril. So ayasya here means mouth, and ayasyat ayate. Ayate means going out. So ayasyat ayate iti ayasya. That prana which goes out through the mouth. That is why the rishi is called ayasya. What is the phalam here? Kama prapti. Right. So now if you want to look at the mantras later, you will find that the Angirasaha is discussed in the 10th mantra. The Brahaspati is discussed in 11th mantra. Ayasyaha is discussed in the 12th mantra. The Phalam is discussed in the 13th and 14th mantra. And they give the example of a rishi. His name is Vakaha Talabhyaha. Right? So that rishi could fulfill all his desires simply through this upasana. And therefore, what is the phalam? This rishi Bakaha Dalabhya, who meditated using this upasana, he didn't do any work. He didn't have to earn. Simply through upasana, all his desires got fulfilled. Similarly, therefore, it says that anybody who meditates on this particular Udgita with this gunas, they will also be able to fulfill the desires. So you will find that in the first upasana, we had prana with two gunas, Shuddham and all sustaining. And the second upasana has three gunas. Right? What are three gunas? Brahaspati,
Angirasa.
Angirasa, and Ayasya. So the first upasana was Dvayaguna Pranaha. The second upasana is Trayaguna Pranaha. Trayaguna Pranaha upasana or Udgita upasana. And he concludes by saying, Iti Adhyatmam. This is a Adhyatma upasana because you have invoked prana on Udgita. And why is prana called Adhyatma?
It resides in the Atma.
Define that Atma for me. You're right. But what do you mean by Atma?
Here, Atma refers to the body.
To yourself. Right. So therefore, Adhyatma means anything pertaining to yourself. And since prana is resident in yourself, this is called a Adhyatma. With this section is over. We went through so quickly because you guys agreed that we will not do word to word. Had we were we doing word to word, we'll still be struggling somewhere earlier. With this, we'll close for the day. Any questions? In fact, I'm glad you guys decided on not having a word to word meaning because basically this is Karmakanda, right? Karmakanda, is it relevant to us or not?
Not really.
Relevant, but not the final goal. Yeah.
You guys have been with us, most of you all, for more than 6 to 7 years. What are you? Atma or Anatma?
Atma.
Atma.
If you are Atma, then how is Karmakanda relevant at all? You use Karmakanda to come to Jnanakanda. Atma, remember, has no Deha Abhimana. He cannot do any upasana. Do upasana, you have necessarily to invoke Deha Abhimana. At the same time, we should know all this is. And therefore, I'm glad that you guys said, okay, fine, we don't want word meanings. But if at all you need the word meanings, many of you would have academic minds wanting to know. That blue book contains it in great detail. Okay, so with this, we'll close the day. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate Om Shanti 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 Om Tat Sat Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you for your patience. Om
Thank you so much.